welcome to my channel. My name is Daryl and this is Programming in Any Language. We're currently working in C# and everything we do here can be done in Java, Python, virtually any programming language, as you'll soon discover. A while back, when we were learning how the switch statement worked, we created an application called the famous Magic 8-Ball. In that program, a user could ask a question, then click on the Magic 8-Ball to get a magic answer from the 8-Ball. To do that, we used a switch statement. It was a great demonstration for the switch statement. Without the switch, we would have had to use a series of if statements or a long drawn-out series of if-else if statements and so on, or something like that. It would have been a lot of code. Well, the switch statement shortened that code and made the logic a bit more elegant and easy to follow. But quite frankly, there is a way to eliminate all the code in that switch statement and replace it with 3 lines of code. How? Use a ListBox. ListBox? I know it sounds crazy, but let's revisit the Magic 8-Ball video to refresh our memory on how the form is created and we set the random number generator. After that, we'll play with the three lines of code. Then we'll work some magic. Okay, to show off the switch statement, how easy it is to and how nice it is to use, we're going to create a program I call the famous Magic 8-Ball. What I've done is I've pulled off, remember this 8-ball thing when you were a kid, played in the playground. You held this thing in your hand, you made a wish or made some kind of prophecy, and it came up with an answer on it. These are the answers. I pulled these things off the internet. It is certainly so. It is decidedly so, without a doubt, and so on down the line. There's about 20 of these things that the 8-ball will answer. And we're going to put these things into the program, and we're going to create an 8-ball with it. We're going to basically go ahead and design this form. I'm going to go ahead and bring up my toolbox here and pull up a picture box. And we have one right here, and we're going to put it right here. We're going to kind of put it something like this, and we'll change the form size in a bit. And it looks roughly the right size. What I want to think about this picture box now, I'm going to give it a name, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it PBX Magic 8-Ball. So let's just go ahead and do that. This will be what the picture box is. We'll give it a name. From there, I am there. PBX Magic. Of course, I can spell right. Magic 8-Ball. And we'll go from there. And we're going to add a picture to it. So what I'm going to do is go to the property. I've got one actually hidden away someplace in a graphic. And I'm going to go and navigate to that. So I'm going to put my image on here, which would be my image property. If I need to highlight this guy and find the image, and be there in alphabetical order, image is right here. So we're going to go ahead and navigate to this thing, and it's on my local resource. So I took a copy off the internet. I pulled this thing and grabbed a graphic of this picture that I'm looking for. So I'll jump out there, and I want to just go up a little bit here into my graphics file, and here it is. And here's my Magic 8-Ball right there. So I'm going to pull that in, just a JPEG, no different there. And I've got it here, and I'm going to say OK to this. And there it pops up in my screen. Now it's not exactly. So I could change. I could actually adjust the size here, or I could do it in my taskbar if I wanted to. This might be fine if I might take it like this, and then maybe just, yeah, it looks pretty good. I might just actually keep it like this and work with it, and it's gonna be fine. So we'll leave it like that, and so it's been saved. I could adjust it if I needed to, but I think we're going to leave it the way it is right now. So what I've got here is the 8-Ball, and I'm going to save this right now, so I've got it in hand. Check to make sure it runs. Yeah, it does, but my form's too big, so I'm going to shrink that down. So that looks good. It's the way I want it. Now let's go ahead and bring this form size down to what we've got here, and I can do that basically by taking this form and bringing it in to the size of the picture box. I've got that in place. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to actually create a click event with this picture box where it's actually going to put something out on the display. What I want to use is a random number generator to generate the numbers 1 through 20. Or 0 through 19, whatever, 20 numbers basically. And each of those will correspond to this guy right here, one of these. They're going to be sitting out in my Magic 8-Ball text box. So we'll go ahead and bring that up. So we're going to, if it's a 1, it's going to be it is certain. If, or something, a 2 is something else. And then I'm going to display that on here, basically. So what I need is a label right now. So I'm going to go ahead and create a label on this picture box. And we'll bring this thing in place. And there's our label. We'll bring it across here. And we'll make it large enough. First of all, we're going to auto size it, or take auto size off. And then we can kind of stretch this thing out and create our label. And so it displays our text nicely. And we probably want to make the background of this thing black so it disappears. So I'm going to take my back color, and I'm going to, that goes right here. Give it a, yeah, black's fine. Use this thing right here. And then I'm going to make the forecolor on this thing white. So it'll display my text very nicely. And we'll make this thing, use a web color here too. Let's make it white. So it shows up nicely there. And just to test it, let's go ahead and, I think we've got something in here. There's the label showing up there now. But let's make that larger. Let's change the font on that thing so it looks a little better. Make our font maybe bold. And let's try 12. Maybe even bigger than that. That might not be too bad. We can take the largest item and stick it in here if we want. So we could take our I've got graphic over here. I'm just going to pull this concentrate. I think one of the largest ones is concentrate and ask again. So I'll just pull that and put that into the text here. And then see what happens. And that comes out nicely, but let's go ahead and center that. And we want it to be text aligned so it's in the center. Like that. That's going to look nice now. Right, so that looks great, considering. So we've got our label in place. So we need to give it a name. We'll call it label out. LBL OUT. And we're going to be good there. Now, as a programmer, I also want to see the number that the random number generator is generating when I run this program. I can turn that off later, but I want to kind of put it in place now. So I'm going to grab another label and put it out here and just put it down here for now. And I think we can leave this thing auto size and leave it the way it is because we're going to make it disappear in the long run. And we'll call this little guy, we'll call this thing label random. So we can kind of put that number in there when we see it, LBL random. And that's going to be sitting there. So I've got the label random sitting here. I've got this label called label out, and I've got the picture box called picture box Magic 8-Ball. So everything I've got here is sitting there in good shape. I'm going to go ahead and save it. I'm going to run it again to make sure my form looks good. And here it comes up. It looks pretty nice. The 8-Ball's there. It's got its question mark thing there. So we're looking pretty good here. So we can now write the code for this thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically, we want to create a click event on the picture box. And so to do that, we're going to double click on the picture box itself to create a click event. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And my code's going to come up, and it's going to create this event, Magic 8-Ball click event. So when I click on it, this is going to execute. Now, do I need anything else in here? Yeah, probably not too much. So what I'm going to do, though, I'm going to basically start. I want a question number integer. I want to set a variable for that. So I'm going to go ahead and say int, or I'm going to say question number integer. This is going to be what we're going to be using for our switch statement. So I'm going to say int answer. So that's going to be our integer that we're going to actually be using. holds number between 0 and 19. So that's all set. We've got to there. It's not being used right now. The next thing we want to do is we want to create a random object. So we'll create a random object. How do we do that? We do that by simply saying, we did this before in the flash code generator. We used it there to generate numbers. So we've done this before. We've actually used this thing. So we're going to say random, and we're going to say, we'll call it bozo, because you can call it anything you want. And it's going to be equal to a new random. So it's got that all set in there. So now we've created the random number generator. Now we want to get that random number. So we're going to go ahead and get a random integer in the range of 0 through 19. So we've got 20 questions. 0 through 19 will be 20. And we do that by saying int answer is equal to bozo.next, and we want to put in here 20. And that's all we need to say. And put our semicolons in there. I took this. This is going to generate a random number between 0 and 19. By saying 20, because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 19 is 20 different values that we can actually have in them. Once we've got that in there, what I want to do is I want to set my label out to true, so the visibility is true. In fact, we're going to be basically making this thing invisible. So let's go to our designer and take this and make the visibility property on here invisible, so we can't see it. We could simply do that by going down to the visible property. If I can find it. And double click on it. Actually, yeah, we set the false here, so it's false now. So this will be off. We want to actually see this thing. This thing we'll leave alone because we're not going to deal with it right now. We're going to use it. So go back to our code. And what I want to do is, as soon as we generate that number, we want our int answer has been set to some random number between 0 and 19. We're going to be looking. We're going to say lbl out dot visible is equal to true. So I'll turn on the label so we can actually see it. And then we're going to say lbl random dot text equals int answer dot toString with a value so we can actually see it. So we'll see that number pop up there and allow us to know which one of these guys right here we're actually grabbing when we actually pull that. So that'll put that in place. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually create our switch statement now. Okay, hold it right there. Yep, this is where we would write the switch statement. We're not going to do that. Now, we're going to add a list box to the form and put our magic answer in it. We'll make the list box invisible so no one sees it, and then we'll add a couple of lines of code to make this program work. Check it out. Okay, when last we saw the 8-ball look something like this, but it was slightly, I think I removed all the code is what I did here. If you look at it, we have the random number generator created here, and I don't have any other code. We were going to put a switch in here, and we did that in when I a number of weeks ago when we actually created that. But there's a much easier way of doing this, and it's kind of a sophisticated way. It takes very, very little code at all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the designer, and I'm going to go to my toolbox. And my command control is I'm going to grab a list box. It's right here. I'm just going to grab that guy. I'm just going to put it right in here. Now, if you remember, I don't know if you remember or not, but I had a bunch of comments that the Magic 8-Ball replied to, and basically it looks something like this. It basically has all of these particular names on here that we can simply grab, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to grab these things. I'm going to do it here. I'm going to go into the list box, and I'm going to go into the collection area right here. And I'm going to open the collection up. And it comes up like this. I'm simply going to take all those questions, all those answers, I should say, that ListBox does, and pop them right in here. Okay, so now they're all sitting out there, and I'm going to say OK to that. So now it's got a collection of these answers. And you remember the ListBox has all these items in it, and they're all listed starting with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I can literally use those to work with an index on these things to actually make those kind of things. You know, actually be able to see each individual one based on the random number generator, which is also an integer. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and give this thing a name. We're going to call this ListBox. What should we call it? Let's call it LBX Answers. That's probably a good name for it. LBX Answers. So we're going to call it, right down here, and I'm going to say it's LBX Answers. And that allows me then to go into code. And I'm going to go into code here, and I'm going to say, okay, and so I have this random number generator here. I'm going to go ahead and say LBX Answers. Got to spell it right. Dot selected index is going to be equal to int answer, our random number that's been generated up here. That gives you the index, so now I can point to one of the answers in my ListBox. Now I'm going to go there. I'm going to say LBL out dot text is going to be equal to LBX answers and swear I can't spell LBX answers and yeah, that's right. Dot selected item. Oops, not selected items. Item. Selected item. To string. Done. Now, I'm going to save this. That's all I did. That's the only code I wrote here. I'm going to go ahead and save this thing. Save all. We're going to run it real quickly to see if anything happens on this thing. And we'll go ahead and do that. Our 8-ball comes up. We click on it. Look at this. It does hit those ListBox items on here. So as I click it each time, I'm getting a different answer. The index is pointing to one of these in our ListBox here, where we're able to see that and make that happen. Now, we don't want to see this. So we'll simply go into our form, and we'll go ahead and take this ListBox and simply make it invisible. Make it false here. Do a file save. Start. And now we got a nice clean one. Looks good. Looks just like it did with the switch when we did that thing, except the code is so much simpler now. Take a look at the code here. We have nothing more. I mean, this is it. This is it. We've got the random number, the integer is being created, the answer is being created here, the random number generator is being generated, and then we're simply using the ListBox to go and get it. No switch, no if-else statements, nothing about that thing. It's very, very simple. That's it. That's all it takes. Wow, where was that when I was typing all those case statements back then? This is definitely an improvement. And just goes to show you that there's always multiple ways to code solutions to problems. What you need to take out of this video is the ListBox truly is a decision component. You don't have to see an object to use this functionality. See you next time. Thanks for watching. If you get a chance, please subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.